I came out of class and we spent a great deal of time sitting with Jordan McNeely. And I didn't realize how angry. Now this is an anger, but I feel the same anger with the young lady who pulled into the wrong driveway. I feel the same anger with the folk that were shopping in Buffalo, to the children in Florida, Parkland, Uvalde, Texas, in Connecticut, the 6-year-olds. I feel anger about the depravity that people, just the cavalier way in which people take people's lives, and then the equally cavalier way in which people cheerlead people who kill people. And so we had this conversation because all my students take the subway. It's New York. They go to New York. They go to Hunter College. They're in New York. They don't have a choice. Uber, which is expensive in New York, or take the subway. And there was one woman who said, it's dicey. Some places she doesn't go, especially at certain times of night, because she doesn't want to navigate the crazies on the subway. And there are a lot of people on the subway, but that's more of a function of a failed system than it is the actual human beings themselves. That means New York is not equipped to handle people with mental health issues, and it's also not equipped to handle the unhoused. And there's a lot of housing in New York, but it's way too expensive for most people. And well, why don't they just leave? It's that's an interesting proposition. A lot of people have left, and then there are a lot of people who are utilizing the shelters, but that's also very dangerous. And so, and a vast majority of people have mental health issues. So the fact that you spent, Eric Adams, more money on more policing and cut budgets from social services tells me everything I need to know. You are a police officer in the vein of police officers, in the system of police officers, and you're ill-equipped to be mayor of the entire city of New York. Mm-hmm. Now, Jordan McNeely was a young man who was 30 years old, who was on the subway, and he was getting loud and belligerent and many reports. And he said he was hungry and thirsty. And he was getting loud. And now, if you've ever ridden a subway in New York, you're going to find people, they're going to do a lot of things on subway. Can I get your attention? They're going to ask you for money. It may be loud. It may be even aggressive. New Yorkers are used to it. And the fact that there are millions of people every day that get on the subways in New York without incident tells you something about the steely way in which New Yorkers roll. They are amazing that they navigate these spaces every single day. All socioeconomics. Puffy was on the train with Carisha, yes, going to Dapper Dan, going up to Harlem. They got on the subway. Okay, people ride the subway. It's all the fastest way
to get around.
And there's very few incidents. So there was a shooting last year, and I think it was a stabbing a couple of years ago. And this gentleman, and I'm gonna call him a gentleman because, by all accounts, he could be found doing his Michael Jackson impersonations, which seem very lovely. And then all I'm seeing is the 40 arrests. And I'm like, why media is it so quick to do the counterintelligence, do the COINTELPRO thing? We're going to immediately put out his arrest record. I'm not saying his arrest record is irrelevant, because it's not. But in this particular case, the man that choked him to death didn't know that he had a warrant out for his arrest. The man that choked him to death, first of all, there was this Jordan McNeely didn't touch anybody. He has touched people in the past. And in that instance, we could have an argument or a conversation about, well, this was self-defense. He was standing there yelling about being hungry and thirsty. The person that took it upon himself, the 24-year-old former Marine, shout out to everybody that has served this country with distinction. I'm not sure about this one, though. But I also believe that there's a lot of people in the military and a lot of people on police forces that go in because they are bloodthirsty. And this man's chokehold of Jordan McNeely for the length of time, and then the two other people that came to help him after what it seemed to me, because I unfortunately watched the video. Jordan McNeely wasn't fighting. He looked like he was signaling for help. Like, I need to breathe. I can't breathe. And at the point that he lost consciousness, the man kept the chokehold on. Right. He was no longer a threat. You had three people subduing him. So in my mind, Rene, Syler, I don't know if the issue in this country is racism or lack of humanity. I don't know if the instance in this country, if the disease that is infecting and killing this country, the soul of this country, is depravity, soullessness, or racism, or maybe they're the same thing. Maybe I'm saying, equal things. But I know for a fact, if Jordan McNeely were a white man hungry and thirsty, belligerent on a train, he'd be alive. I know that with every fiber of my being. Mm. And I know perhaps if the Marine that choked a white man, Jordan McNeely, to death, were a black man, he'd be in handcuffs right now. Mm. So the 24-year-old that took it upon himself to step in when nobody asked him to and subdue a man that was not physically harming anybody with a rear naked chokehold from the time that he put him in the chokehold to the time that the train stopped. So some people have that at 15 minutes. You cut off his airwaves. 15 minutes. We watched George Floyd 8 minutes and 26 seconds lose his life. 15 minutes. You killed this man. To go get arrested and then be released as if nothing happened tells me a couple of things. First of all, you do not value the life of this human being. So everybody who is unhoused, who is suffering from mental illness and unhoused, they are discardable. I remember Nazi Germany, one of the first people that got rounded up were the folk that were mentally ill. They opened up the institutions. I remember Willowbrook in the United States, Bellevue. I remember the horrors of warehousing people who are mentally ill and not treating them. But the Nazis put them in concentration camps because they didn't value their blight on society, as if people just wake up crazy. Jordan McNeely watched his mother get choked to death, strangled by her boyfriend, who, by the way, got sentenced to 30 years in prison for killing his mother. This man needed help, not a rear naked chokehold. And whoever killed him should go to jail. And I don't think there's an argument about this. So the fact that there's an argument about this tells me there's something inherently wrong with our country. 866-801-8255 is the number if you want to join us in conversation. Yes, Rene.
I was just
Rene
gonna,
Syler.
What is the argument? It's when I do understand the
wait, let me correct myself. Jordan Neely. I'm sorry. Jordan Neely. I apologize for not saying his name because I want to give him life. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just don't understand the I mean, I think this speaks to what you were just talking about, Karen, about the humanity, is that what part of you can hold on to someone's neck for 15 minutes with two people standing over you, helping you in the subduing of this individual. And once the person has gone limp and is no longer a threat, they're no longer, threatening, yelling, whatever. What part of you is like, I have to continue on? And I felt the same with George Floyd. Like once he was on the ground and he's, it wasn't just, what's his name? I can't even think of the guy's name, the officer. It wasn't just him. There were other people.
Derek Chauvin, one just got whatever his name was, got convicted yesterday.
But when George Floyd stopped fighting, right? Why are we continuing on? And that's the inhumanity I think you're talking about, Karen. It's like, at that point, is it that something else takes over and you're just so enraged and how dare you fight back against me? Which I think speaks to kind of some of the things you were just talking about. So I'm horrified. I like you, I take the subway all the time.
Well, let me be clear. I don't take the subway. No.
Okay, well, I take the subway.
I do not take the subway. I want to be very clear about that.
I do take the subway, and because I did, and even back when I was had that big morning TV job, it was just faster. It was faster. It was easier. It was, and for the most part, you have people, like you said, people are performing and they're doing stuff for money and whatever, but most New Yorkers just ignore that stuff. Or you give them $1 and you keep it moving. But where was he such a threat that this 24-year-old Marine felt like, I need to eradicate this? What happened there?
I think Fucker Carlson lent a peek into the mind frame of a lot of people in this country. There's a bloodlust. He said he watched a video and he just wished that I know it's not the way white men fight, but there was a part of me that I wanted them to beat him to death, to kill him. Like there's a bloodlust that something does maybe click on. I guess you join the Marines where they teach you in the Army, Navy. I don't know, folk who've been there. I just know a few, got family members in it. I've had uncles that fought in wars, 866-801-8255. They teach you kill, 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 kill. Like you are rearing up to go kill people, right? So maybe he missed that because there was no place to go. And now I get a chance to choke the life, to feel the life leave someone. I guess Jeffrey Dahmer could maybe speak to that. Maybe there's something in that person's epigenetics that makes him feel a sense of power in taking someone's life. I'm not wired that way. You're not wired that way, but apparently there are a whole lot of people wired that way. Or why else do you have 100 guns? What do you need 100 guns for? What war are you preparing for? And if it's a race war, really? What's the enemy? What is black skin? Because nobody's coming into your neighborhood where you self-segregate. You know, even the riots and the looting and all of the things that you sit and clutch your pearls as you watch CNN when there's an uprising, they're not in your neighborhood. They're not coming to your neighborhood. So where's the threat? And historically, has there been, even the Black Panthers, their only purpose was to stop police brutality. I don't even think their guns were loaded. But they wanted to show we have the right to bear arms, and you're not going to just come into our neighborhood and randomly brutalize Black people. The Black Panthers, that wasn't an offensive. Where's there been an offensive in the history? Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, John Brown. I can name them. Haiti, that wasn't even here. That was a defensive. Haiti. And if we can argue, all of those offensive uprisings and rebellions were in opposition to oppression and slavery. So if Black Americans have a history of going out and violating, please let me know. Well, the jails, the laws. We just heard from Dr. Bataloro this week that the laws are codified in such a way to criminalize Black people from 1680 on. And there are no recourses for Black criminal behavior towards Black people. We don't even have license of voices, which we see. And white folk inherently know, I'm not going to really go to jail for doing this. Bernard Goetz got on a train in 1984. In 1981, and I remember this even though I was in high school, in 1981, he got accosted by kids on the train. They took $5 from him or something, and he sprained his knee in the altercation. And then he went and got a gun permit. And then 3 years later, Rene Syler, he got on a train, 4 Black boys, teenagers accosted him for $5, and he pulled out a gun and just opened fire on a subway. He paralyzed one of them. Nobody died, thank God. 3 of them got away unscathed, unshot. The one child ended up suing for $1 million, and Bernard Goetz said, I'm bankrupt. He went to jail for that, though. Then they called him a subway vigilante, but people like Joan Rivers sent him hugs and kisses. He was celebrated in New York for shooting, because everyone wants to see, justice. Like we're in a Batman, we're in a Marvel movie. What the hell is this?
Karen, have you seen that video of the, it looks like a smash and grab in a store like a TJ Maxx or Marshall's or something like that. And it looks like 2 young African-American women, and they're walking out of the store, hands full, weight down. And one of them gets away. The other one is just hammered by a white man who happens to be a customer. I mean, he doesn't work there, but the rage now, please don't anybody say, oh, well, smash and grab. That's we know that's wrong. We know stealing, you shouldn't be stealing. What we're questioning is killing a fly with a cannon. And that's basically what this looked like. He outweighed her looked like 75 pounds. He was taller, and he just comes back with a closed fist and cold cocks her. And I remember seeing that, and somebody in one of the comments said, boy, he looks like he'd been waiting his whole life to do that. And that, wow, stuck with me.
I need to go back in history. Fugitive slave law gave any white citizen the right to grab up any Black citizen. Right. Or not a citizen, because by law no Black person could be a citizen then. Samuel North, of 12 Years a Slave, one of these people grabbed up Anybody could grab up a black person off the street. So I feel like we have given license to deputizing white folk, which is where it's headed to me. It feels like, with all of the arming up, the ratcheting up of guns, the allowance of guns, you are deputizing people to go out and become paramilitary, right? So everyone feels like this person on the subway felt like he had the right to step in. Nobody, you're not, no. And that man in the store felt deputized. You're not going to steal on my watch because that's why the prices go up. And yes, all of that's true. And so I'm going to do my part. Imagine if everybody felt that way.
I can't imagine myself in that role, like seeing that. I can't imagine saying it's my job to stop this, and I'm gonna stop this by beating the hell out of somebody. Or I don't see that. And is that because I'm a woman? Is that because I'm a black woman? Is that what,
probably conditioned. I'm somebody that will, if somebody throws something out the window or drops something on the floor, I'll be, excuse me, you just dropped that. Like I'm that person in my neighborhood. You can't litter in my neighborhood if I'm on my watch. Please, can you please pick that up? Thank you. Like I'll be nice and pleasant, but yes. And I guess I was thinking about if I were in the store and some young people, I don't know. I feel, and it's probably why I shouldn't be out there in the streets, but I do feel a responsibility to young people to at least provide a source of wisdom. I would never want to put my hands on them, but I would say, is this the best use of your genius, young lady? Really? Is this what we're doing? How's this going to end for you? Like I would have a conversation, but I feel in community with these children. Like I don't see them as others, which I feel like you can't possibly see Jordan Neely as a human being and do that to him. And you can't possibly see Jordan Neely as a human being and celebrate the taking of his life. He didn't just die, New York Times. He was murdered. And Eric Adams, you are really not equipped to be mayor of New York. He went out and was chastising people for calling it a murder, for calling it a killing. And then the medical examiner today called it a homicide. And you had to go on TV with Abby Phillips and acknowledge that. But dude, is the police that much in your veins? And I know you were trying to do good work with 100 Blacks in law enforcement who care. You need to remember why you started that organization with Mark Claxton. And show some humanity, because you're the mayor of all of New York, including the people who are unhoused and unhealthy. This guy, law and order my ass.